Well then, new stadium, new season, and a new team, it would seem. What's up, guys? I'm here to talk a little bit about the Huskies' Week 1 victory over Boise State. Could not have been a better Week 1 for the Washington Huskies. So let's break down why that is the case. First off, before I talk about the game, what happened on the field, props to the 72,000 plus who went out last night and supported the team. We got loud, we got rowdy, we supported the team with the exception of what happened right before half, and I would have booed as well personally, but that was really the only negative in a night filled with a lot of fantastic things. We just spent $300 million on renovating the stadium, so we need fan support right now to come out and make it worth it. It's a beautiful stadium, but it'll only be worth it if we go out there and support the team. So, Week 1 in the books, sending the Boise State Broncos home with the loss. Wow. I kind of thought we were going to win this game. I thought the emotion of the new stadium would propel us to a victory, but I didn't see this. I didn't see this at all. I kind of felt like the line was actually a little high. The Huskies went into the game favored by 4.5. I thought that number maybe should have been 1 or 2, and well, based on what happened, I think that's pretty well been settled that they knew something we didn't, and this is a different team. This is a different year, and based on this first week, the changes are all welcome. So let's run down what was almost a perfect game from the UW. Offense. Let's start with the offense last year. Offense was the Achilles heel of the team. They couldn't move the ball consistently. They had turnovers. They made mistakes. They couldn't protect the quarterback. Long list of reasons why the offense was the primary reason why we had problems last year. The only bright spots last year on the offense were Bishop Sankey doing a very nice job as a number 1 running back. Cason Williams doing a very good number 1 receiver year, and of course Austin Seferian-Jenkins having a great tight end season in terms of catching passes. Now this year it looks like we're going to have a few more playmakers to play with, a few more positives, and it all starts with the new offensive scheme. It's very fast. It's trying to do what Chip Kelly did in Oregon. It's trying to do what the Patriots do at the NFL level. Basically, you don't want the ball to be dead for more than 10 seconds. As soon as the play's over, you run up to the line, you call a play, you snap it, and you move the offense down the field fast. You get the defense worn out quickly, and you try to keep them guessing. And last night, obviously with an offensive set, you worry about that a lot, because if it doesn't work, if the offense isn't clicking, if you're punting, if you're turning it over, your defense is the one that gets tired because they're seeing the field too much. But last night it was basically perfect. I mean, we saw a lot of horizontal passes. I must have seen like 6 or 7 bubble screens last night to receivers and running backs out of the flat. And the key to those plays is great blocking on the part of the wide receivers, blocking outside of the tackles. And our wide receivers did a fantastic job last night blocking and clearing the way for those bubble screens. So, and of course you had Keith Price manning the helm of the new offense, and he did a fantastic job. His first pass of the game was a terrible pass that had no chance of doing anything positive, and he got what he deserved. It got picked off. But after that was over, rest of the game, you can't really complain about anything. I mean, he took 1 sack. Most of his incompletions were throwaways because nothing was going on in the play. When he was accurate, when he needed to be accurate, he was. He found Jadon Mickens, who's a guy who I don't remember from last year at all, sophomore, who looks like he's ready to be, not the number 1 receiver. Cason Williams is still pretty clearly, in my opinion, the number 1 receiver. But Jadon Mickens looks to be our Wes Welker type of receiver, a guy who catches short passes, a guy who moves the chains, a guy who we use on bubble screens and we rely on to get yards after the catch, yards after contact. And this Jadon Mickens guy, I wasn't counting on him this season. I was counting on the two freshmen. So if Jadon Mickens can be a big-time receiver for us, haul in 70, 80 catches over the course of the season, then that's going to be gigantic for this team. So the influx of the new receiving talent is very welcome. Beyond Jadon Mickens and Kason Williams, who had a good game yesterday, Kevin Smith, he's a new guy. I think he's been around for a little while, but he just hasn't played very much before now. He had some big plays. John Ross made some catches. Joshua Perkins had the touchdown grab. So we see a lot of different receivers that we can go to this year. When last year you had Safarian Jenkins, you had Williams, and then you had no one else you could really rely on. So this year we should have at least 3 quality wide receiver options from game to game, and that's all we need, because next week 2 weeks from now we're getting Safarian Jenkins back, and that should change the offense completely, and that'll give us enough to chug along the whole season. So that in and of itself is a huge revelation for this team, and is going to completely change our offensive outlook. Of course, the star of the game last night, the best player on the field last night, other than maybe Keith Price, but I thought the star last night was Bishop Sankey, who, last year he had a really good season. He was a lot better than I thought he was going to be. I don't know if he was great, but he was very good. He produced regularly, and he closed it out with a great game against Boise State in the Las Vegas Bowl. Didn't produce a win, but he looks like a star right now, and I'm not talking about him maybe being an NFL prospect one day, because I don't really believe that he'll ever be an NFL prospect because of his size, but he goes out there and he just keeps making plays, and he's about to go beyond that very good, and he's looking like he's going to be a great running back. And I mean, like Chris Polk, great. What Chris Polk was for us a few years ago when he was dominating the Pac-12. Sankey looks like he could be a 1,500-yard rusher if we can get him the ball enough, like we did last night. So Bishop looks sharp. He looks happy to be behind a superior offensive line, which was excellent last night, both in run blocking and pass protection. And he looks ready to be a star in the Pac-12 this year. And I really like our wide receiver depth. Running back depth with Dwayne Washington. He's somebody I didn't see last year. He's a little thinner than your average running back, but he was productive when he got carries last night. He looks like somebody who's going to be a part of the offense this year, because, I like Jesse Collier. I remember when he was the backup to Chris Polk a couple years ago, but when you've gotten injured as much as Jesse Collier has, or when you've suffered as big an injury as he has, I think he only has the one, but it was a big one, you just have to be a little concerned of what could happen if it happens again. So personally, I hope that Dwayne Washington becomes the static number 2. So that's the offense. Stellar performance last night. Nothing bad to say about them. There was a little bit of funny business right before the half where they decided to be passive, but it paid off, so all is well. The defense. Oh my God, this defense. Last year the defense was great. This year they looked phenomenal after one game. I'll stress that. In Boise State, they have a very good offense. They have a very good system, but we're going to have to see this a few more times before we know anything for sure. But last night we saw excellent technique, excellent form, and excellent discipline, and it created an atmosphere where we could hold Boise State to 6 points, even though we only forced 1 turnover, and we didn't get to the quarterback to sack him once. Because, we can see it in this defense. This defense is going to play back a little bit. They're going to play vanilla sets. They're going to keep things simple. They're going to keep things in front of them. They're going to make tackles in the open field. They're going to wrap up. They're going to gang tackle to get a ball carrier down, and ultimately they're not going to force a lot of turnovers. They're not going to make a lot of huge plays, but the bottom line is they're going to force these other teams to go on 15-yard drives to get their touchdowns. And when they have to go 15-yard drives to get their touchdowns, at some point they're going to make a mistake. They're going to commit a penalty. They're going to throw an interception. They're going to fumble the ball. They're going to miss a block. They're going to drop a pass. And as soon as they make that one mistake, this defense, because they're disciplined, because they tackle well, because they read the play well, they're going to make the stop to get the ball back. And a lot of times, it's going to be through a punt. We're not going to be forcing all these turnovers. But this defense has decided to avoid giving up the big play and surrender the smaller play. But they know that a million small plays is better than one big one, because you keep giving the other team a chance to screw up, they might screw up. So last night we saw that strategy pay off the best way possible. Boise State, they had a couple of scoring drives. They had one drive that ended in a blocked field goal. They had another drive end in a fourth down failure to convert. So they were moving the ball. They were able to run the ball somewhat well. They were passing the ball somewhat well at first. But when it got down to it, they would make that one mistake or maybe two mistakes in quick succession, and then the drive was dead, and we'd be getting the ball back. So you'd love to have a defense that can take the ball away, but if we don't have the personnel for that yet, if we are not ready to be a big-time aggressive Alabama-like defense, then keeping everything in front of us like this is going to win us plenty of games this year. So stellar effort from the defense last night. Shaq Thompson made several big plays. He's somebody we absolutely have to have a big season from. Sean Parker, big game from him. The pass rush, it could be a little better, I'll grant you that, but last night they were getting some heat, even if they never got to the quarterbacks. There were two different Boise quarterbacks last night. I can't remember their names, Sedgwick, and I can't remember the name of the backup. But they made the little plays. They made the tackles in the open field. They made the big hits. And that's the kind of defense we have this year in the University of Washington. And their commitment to discipline will define how they do when Pac-12 play starts in a couple weeks, because we got this bye week now. We got 2 weeks to think about that great performance we just had, offense, defense, and special teams. And then we've got 2 games that should be cupcakes, Illinois and Idaho State. And then Pac-12 play starts and we find out how far this team has really come. So we'll see. See you later.